to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the EmeraldPlanet TV. We come to you on a week-to-week basis looking for the best of the best in 144 different countries as we're looking for those 1,000 best practices. And not only are we looking for the technologies, the services, and the products, but also we're looking for the leadership and the people that are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And we have someone, actually two people that are with us in the city of Detroit that are doing extraordinary things as far as looking at what is going on as far as the Detroit area is concerned, that area between the United States and Canada, and also the impact of this as we move around the globe. Trish Hubbell is the Director of Marketing from Greening of Detroit, and Trish is coming in to us by Skype. And Trish, I just love the name of your organization and also the logo. I'm going to have you explain your logo in a minute. And then sitting in studio, also from Detroit, is our special guest, Scott Renlund, who is the CEO of Energy Alliance Group of Michigan. And so welcome to both of you, Trish and Scott. Trish, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad to have you with us. We have your logo right behind me. One, explain the nature of your organization, and then also tell us a little bit about this very clever logo that you have.
Well, the Greening of Detroit, we are celebrating our 25th year this year, and we are an environmental nonprofit organization. We started out in 1989 basically with the sole focus of reforesting the city of Detroit. We had lost hundreds of thousands of trees to the Dutch elm disease. And since that time, of course, we've expanded quite a bit in our focus and our scope. So our scope of work has really expanded to include urban agriculture and workforce development, vacant lot restoration, a whole number of things.
And that's really an excellent listing that you have, because there's a long list of what we're focused on in Detroit, and you're really in the middle of all of that. But going back to your logo.
Yes, our logo was actually provided, designed for us by Team Detroit, which is a local, a large advertising agency. It's basically a team of several agencies put together, and Team Detroit designed that logo for us about 3 years ago. And you'll see the little leaf coming off the top of the G there, and so we're very proud of that logo.
Well, I tell you, it is a leaf, but I tell you, it looks like a turtle. And I was just telling Scott, I just think this is such a clever logo that you can interpret that in many different ways, and it all relates to nature, and that's a good thing. Looking at this replacement of the trees, I know that you're doing the urban gardening, also urban farming, and many other things. But what are some of the things that you're doing as far as the urban forestry is concerned?
Well, the Greening has been planting trees since 1989. We try to use a variety of species because we've learned the hard way. We used to plant, there were all the elm trees, and we lost those to disease. And then a lot of those trees were replaced with silver maple or ash, and the ash borer came in and killed off about 10 million trees around all of Metro Detroit in just a very short amount of time. So we try to plant between 8 and 12 different species of trees, so to increase the survivability. We plant about 5,000 to 6,000 trees a year. As I said, we're a small nonprofit. The city of Detroit has not had the capacity to plant any trees in a couple of decades. So really a lot of that work falls on the Greening. We do public parks, the berm between the street and the sidewalk. We try to work with neighborhoods that want us to come in and plant those trees. And we usually plant the big ball and burlap, like they're about 6 feet tall, so they're larger trees.
Well, that's really excellent. I'm in the Rotary Club of Washington, D.C., and we have the same thing. It's called Trees for the Capital. And when you look at the images of the tidal basin of the cherry trees, we've put about 400 of those just in that area, plus actually trees on the Capitol grounds itself. And now we're going in and doing infill with the city parks, which are actually under the National Forest Service. But what are some of the things that you've learned besides having a variety of trees or going back to native species that you've really learned over these last 2+ decades?
Well, it's a little bit complicated in the city of Detroit. People always think that everybody wants trees, but we have a difficult time sometimes engaging the community to accept the trees that we want to plant. And part of that issue, I think, is because we have so many trees that really need to be removed. The ash borer came in so quickly that we have thousands of dead and dangerous trees in the city. And so sometimes we'll go into a neighborhood and people just don't want a tree because there are so many trees that have issues or are dead and need to come out in the neighborhood. So we really try to engage the community early on to really inform them and educate them about the benefits of planting trees. But then we also try to really work with them and address some of their concerns about the trees that need to be removed. So it's really, I think the biggest thing we've learned over the last, 5 or 10 years is to really try to get in front of the engagement process, to make people feel part of the solution. Maybe they don't want trees. Maybe they want some other kind of green space or some other vegetation in their community. But we like to try to engage them early on to make them part of that process.
That's fantastic. Scott, you have the next question.
Yeah, so nice to see you, Trish. One of my questions, especially because you guys have been involved so long with Detroit, now you're involved with transforming the city. How do you guys see greening of Detroit becoming part of the transformation?
Oh, we're already part of the transformation. The city has 20 square miles of vacant land. Wow. Our city is about 140 square miles, and over 20 miles of it is just vacant. And so we've been working with communities and collaborating organizations and neighborhoods to really start to put together a vision of what they can do in those neighborhoods. We'll meet with community groups and just kind of brainstorm. What are you thinking for this space? What's your vision for your neighborhood? You may not have another house that's going to be built on this spot. So what can what can we all do collaboratively to make this a greener, healthier space that will enhance the quality of life in your neighborhood?
I tell you, that's
yeah, we've been doing that now, and we see huge opportunity in that in the future.
Well, and that really goes to the question I was going to ask you for our international and domestic audiences. What do you think you'll be focused on over, say, the next 5 years that really goes to what Scott was asking about, this transformation of Detroit, because it's definitely going through a major makeover in so many ways, and it's very exciting what's going on there.
Yeah, it is exciting. I think, after post-bankruptcy, I think there's a lot of optimism. We sort of gone to the bottom and now we're on our way back up. At the greening, in 2011, we started a workforce development training program for adults, Detroiters who are unemployed and have barriers to employment. So we're really trying to integrate a lot of our programming, and we see a really important element of Detroit's comeback is jobs. So we're training folks in green job skills. We're certifying them. We have a strong employment steering committee. So we're actually graduating these folks with some skills, and almost 90% of them have jobs at the end of the training program. It's an eight-week session. So we really feel like Detroit will not really be a transformed city until people have jobs. And so we're trying to really put folks to work and put them to work in green jobs. Folks learn how to grow food. They learn how to plant trees, landscape skills, all those sorts of things.
Well, that's absolutely incredible, and the 90%, that is extremely high, so congratulations on that. There are many organizations around the country that'd love to have that success rate. Scott, why don't you ask the next question?
Yeah, Trish, like ourselves, being involved in the transformation, it's been really exciting seeing the changes. But what have you guys seen since the emergence of coming out of bankruptcy, but more importantly, what are the residents saying about the city's next chapter?
Well, it's been interesting. You know, I'm a lifelong Detroiter, grew up in the city, raised my kids in the city. I live downtown right now. So I've moved from the east side neighborhood down into the central core. And I think there's a lot of renewed optimism. I think things are shifting a little bit out of downtown into the neighborhoods, which is really important because the neighborhoods need to have that attention. There's a lot of Detroiters who in the past have felt somewhat disenfranchised, haven't really felt part of this revitalization. We still have a long way to go, but I think the focus is starting to shift. And if we really want to build a strong city, everybody has to have a part. So I see that as sort of the next iteration. You know, things are starting to move outward from the central core.
There's a number of very energized and proactive nonprofits and other organizations within Detroit. How can they help you? How can they help the greening of Detroit?
Well, you know what I really like about Detroit, maybe it's like this everywhere, I don't know, but I think that we do a good job of collaborating together. Sure, we're all, you know, somewhat competing for those limited dollars, but it seems like we've done a lot of collaborative projects. And if we're not doing something, we try to refer people over to our partner who might be. Or, you know, we do a lot of community cleanups, and then we'll pull in, you know, organizations that can provide an element to the success of that project. Or we'll, you know, I think it's just that whole collaboration.
That's fantastic. This is Trish Hubbell, who is the Director of Marketing for Greening of Detroit. Right beside me is Scott Ringland, CEO of Energy Alliance Group of Michigan. Thank you to both of you for the hard work that you're doing out there in Michigan. Shake hands there, old buddy.
Thanks, Sam.
Thank you for being with us, and thank you, viewers, for being with us as we look around the globe to create the Emerald Planet.